You left the military years ago. The pain never really went away. But when you look at your records, there is a 10-year gap where it looks like nothing happened. No appointments, no complaints, no treatment. And now you are wondering, did that gap just destroy my claim? Here is the answer. Not necessarily. But if you leave that gap unexplained, the VA may treat that silence like evidence against you. And that is what this video is about. Not panic, preparation. Understanding what the VA may see when the records are quiet, and what you can do about it before you file. This is episode 3 of the Over 40 Veteran Gap Strategy series. In episode 1, we covered how veterans still prove service connection, even when the records are thin. In episode 2, we broke down the PACT Act and what presumptive does and does not mean. This episode is about the gap itself, the 10, 15, maybe 20-year stretch where you did not go to the doctor, where the records are quiet, where it looks on paper like nothing was wrong. Here is what we are going to cover. First, what the VA may think when it sees that gap. Second, why the gap is not automatically fatal to the claim. And third, a clear 5-step framework for explaining that gap, supporting it with credible evidence, and filing with a record that tells the truth clearly. I am a retired Marine. I am not an attorney. I am not an accredited VA representative. I do not file claims on behalf of veterans. This channel, Veteran Claims Made Easy, is here to help you understand the process, organize your evidence, and move forward with more clarity. Let's get into it. This is the first trap, and it is one of the most common reasons veterans do not file at all. They look at the record, they see a long stretch of silence, no treatment, no appointments, no documented complaints, and they decide on their own that the gap already killed the claim, so they do not file. That is the trap, not the gap itself, the decision not to file because of it. Now, here is the other side. Some veterans file anyway, but they do not address the gap. They figure the VA will understand. They figure the in-service records are strong enough. They figure that because they know what happened, the VA will figure it out too. That is the second trap. The VA does not rate what you know in your heart. The VA reviews what is in the record, and if the record has a 10-year gap with no explanation, the VA may ask, where is the connection between service and today? Why was there no treatment? Does the current condition connect back to service, or did something else cause it during those missing years? That is where veterans lose ground, not always because the claim is weak, but because the gap was never explained. Before we talk about what to do, I want to address something. Veterans over 40 did not skip treatment for 10 years because they were careless. They skipped it because of who they were trained to be. You pushed through pain. That was the culture. Sick call was for the weak. Pain was normal. You drove on. You got out of the military and kept moving. You got a job. You supported a family. You did not have insurance. You did not understand the VA system. You self-treated. Braces, ice, heat, over-the-counter medication, stretching, resting it when it got bad. And somewhere along the line, you got used to the pain or learned to hide it, not because you were lying, not because the condition was not real, but because that is what veterans do. That silence in the medical record has a reason. The problem is the record does not explain the reason. That is your job before you file. A 10-year gap is not just empty space. It is a 10-year story the record never told. Your job is to help the VA understand what was happening during those quiet years. Think of your claim file like a book. The first chapter is your service records, the injury, the illness, the in-service event. The last chapter is today, the current diagnosis, the current condition, what you are dealing with right now. But if the middle chapters are blank, if there is a 10-year stretch where the book has nothing, the VA may not understand how the first chapter and the last chapter connect. That does not mean the story is not real. It means the record did not capture it. Your job is not to invent chapters. Your job is to help reconstruct the story with honest evidence so that the connection is clear. That is what the repair framework is about, not erasing the gap, explaining it. There is no magic fix here, no single document that erases a treatment gap, but there is a framework, 5 steps, 5 steps that can help you organize the record, explain the silence, and file with more clarity. Step 1. Get a current diagnosis. Before you file, make sure the condition is currently diagnosed, or at least properly evaluated. Pain alone can matter in some circumstances, but you should not rely on vague symptoms when a clearer diagnosis may be available. Get evaluated, report the history accurately, Tell the doctor when symptoms started, how long they have continued, what makes them worse, and how they affect your daily life. Do not walk into that appointment saying, I need this for a VA claim. Walk in explaining your medical history. The medical record should reflect the real condition and the real history behind it. Step 2, rebuild the timeline. Create a simple written timeline. This does not have to be a legal document. It can be a single sheet of paper. What happened in service? When did symptoms first begin? What happened after separation? How did symptoms continue? When did they get worse? What finally made you seek treatment or file? Be honest. Be simple. The timeline is not a legal argument. It is a tool to help you organize your own thinking and eventually communicate that clearly when the time comes. Step 3, explain the silence. This is the step most veterans skip, and it is one of the most important. You need to explain, clearly and simply, why you did not seek treatment for years. Not dramatically, not as an excuse, just honestly. Maybe you thought pain was normal after service. Maybe you were trained to push through it. Maybe you were working and supporting a family. Maybe you did not have insurance. Maybe you self-treated, braces, over-the-counter medication, heat, ice, stretching, rest. Maybe you did not understand that you could file a VA claim. Maybe the culture you came from did not leave room for complaints. Whatever the real reason is, say it. A personal statement explaining the silence can be part of the evidence the VA considers. It does not replace medical evidence, but it can help the VA understand what was happening during the years the records were quiet. Step 4, gather lay evidence. The medical record is not the only record. Think about what else exists from that period. Does a spouse, family member, or close friend remember seeing you in pain? Did a coworker notice limitations, things you could not do, tasks you avoided, changes in how you moved? Do you have old photographs that show physical limitations or medical equipment? Are there work records, journals, messages, or other documents from that period? Buddy statements, spouse statements, family statements. These are credible forms of lay evidence. They are not a replacement for a medical opinion, but together with your personal statement, your timeline, and your current diagnosis, they can help the VA understand the full picture. That sounds small. It is not. Step 5, get the medical record moving before you file. If possible, begin treatment before you file. Get evaluated, get a diagnosis on record, start documenting the condition clearly. The longer you wait to get treatment, the more the medical record reflects a condition that appeared out of nowhere. The more clearly the record documents your symptoms, history, and limitations, the easier it may be for the VA to understand what has been going on. This is not about manufacturing evidence. It is about making sure the real evidence exists in a place where the VA can actually see it. Before we move on, a clear line. None of this means you should manufacture evidence. None of this means you should exaggerate symptoms. None of this means you should pressure a doctor to write something that is not true. None of this means a personal statement or buddy statement will override a weak medical record. A personal statement is not magic. A buddy statement is not magic. A current diagnosis is not magic. But together, when they reflect the truth clearly, they may help the VA understand a story that the medical record alone could not tell. The goal is not to create a record that sounds better. The goal is an accurate, honest, and clear record. Do not exaggerate. Do not create evidence. Do not rewrite history. Tell the truth clearly and support it where you honestly can. Let me pull this together. A 10-year gap in your medical records does not automatically destroy your VA claim, but an unexplained gap can absolutely hurt it. The VA cannot read your life story unless you put the right parts of that story into the record. The gap does not explain itself. That is your job before you file. Here is the 48-hour challenge. Take out a blank sheet of paper. Write down the honest answer to 3 questions. 1. When did the condition start, and why did you not seek treatment during the gap? 2. Who in your life saw the condition during those years? 3. What does the condition prevent you from doing in daily life? Do not send it anywhere. Do not file it anywhere. Not yet. Just write it down honestly. That is where the real work begins. In episode 4 of the Over 40 Veteran Gap Strategy, we are going to talk about why the gap exists in the first place. Not the paperwork reason, the real reason, the military mindset that trained you to push through pain, and how that conditioning created the very silence that can now work against your claim. If you understood episode 3 Episode 4 will put the whole picture in context. Watch it next. If you already have a VA decision letter and you are not sure whether your treatment gap hurt your claim, use the free VA Letter Translator. It can help you understand what the VA said, what evidence they considered, and where the record may have a weakness. It is free, it is plain English, and it is available right now at veteranclaimsmadeeasy.com/VA-letter-translator. If you have not filed yet and you want to get organized first, resources, checklists, and guides are available at veteranclaimsmadeeasy.com/resources. Start there, get organized, move forward with more clarity. You do not need hype, you need clarity. My goal is never to mislead, only to empower you with accurate, honest, and actionable information. Semper Fidelis and God bless.